resolutions you must make to have a new year. There are certain resolutions that must be made if you want to see things look different. And I believe that that's a lot of people. A lot of people want things to be different. A lot of people want something better, something that is beyond what they've always known. And when we talk about a new year, most people very quickly come to learn that it's not actually a new year. It's just the same. Listen, for a lot of people, if they're being honest, it may as well just be one long year from, 2007. It's just been one long and dreadful year because there's nothing new. There's nothing new. The year after year after year, there is nothing new, and so it's quite inaccurate to call it a new year, except if you only consider the calendar. And so tonight we're speaking, and for the next couple of days, we're speaking on the resolutions you must make to have a new year. Are we ready? Say I'm ready. So tonight is more of an introduction. Over the next couple of days, I'm going to count down individual resolutions that I believe we need to make. And tonight what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by asking the question, what is a resolution? What is a resolution? And so our title for tonight alone is The Weight of a Resolution. The weight of a resolution. Because the truth is, I used to hear this word when I was young. I heard people talk about resolutions, New Year's resolutions. At the beginning of the year, what are your New Year's resolutions? What are your New Year's resolutions? And there was a point when I was just saying stuff because I thought I was supposed to have resolutions, right? And so I would just say stuff. I would be asked, what are your New Year's resolutions? I just say stuff. Because every single year, people would have resolutions. And I thought, I remember I would make resolutions. I would say things like, my resolution this year is to achieve a certain weight in terms of my body weight, or my resolution this year is to buy a new car, or my resolution this year is to get married. I had that one many times. That one I had many times because I've been wanting to get married since I was like 21 years old. But what is a resolution? And so tonight's session, what we're gonna do is we're gonna just start from this point of defining a resolution so that we get it, so that we have a good understanding of what a resolution is. Right? So let me start off with what a resolution is not. Right? Let's start off with what a resolution is not. A resolution is not a wish. A resolution is not a wish. A resolution is not a goal. A resolution is not a goal, and sometimes we can conflate it, but it's not. A resolution is not optimism. A resolution is not enthusiasm, especially January enthusiasm. A resolution is not something you try. Let me say that one again. A resolution is not something you try. If you didn't write down any of them, I want you to write this one down and put it in the comment section. A resolution is not something you try. And most people fail, not because they lack the discipline or anything like that, but because they did not have the resolve. which is the root word of resolution. The root word of resolution is this word, resolve. So let's go over to the Bible. There are two verses that I want to read for you. There are two verses that I want to read for you. Daniel chapter 1, and we're looking at verse 8. Daniel chapter 1, verse 8. Daniel chapter 1, verse 8. And we're going to get to what a resolution is in just a moment. But here's what it says. It says, but Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief official for permission to not defile himself in this way. Let me say that again. Daniel resolved not to defile himself. This is where many of us get that what we now call the Daniel fast. This is the beginning of Daniel, the beginning of their story when they find themselves in Babylon. They are in this, foreign land, a foreign king, a foreign system. All of these gods that they do not serve. And so Daniel and his friends, they said, we are not going to conform to their ways. And so what we will not do is we will not eat their food. We will not eat their food. And one of the reasons for that is because oftentimes their food was sacrificed to their gods. Right? Their food was sacrificed to their gods, which would be this meat that would now be served at the king's table, but it was served in honor of the various gods. And so Daniel and his friends say, we're not going to do that. We are not going to defile ourselves by eating that food. But here's the thing. It says he resolved. He resolved. That word resolve is a word that means I want to give you three different meanings. I want to give you three different meanings of what it means to resolve. It means to decide even before pressure arrives. To decide even before pressure arrives. It is not circumstantial. It is not because you were going this way and then something happened and it changed your mind and you decided to go a different way. It is not because you were forced and you had no choice, but to resolve. It is to decide even before pressure arrives. To resolve also means, and another meaning I want you to write down, to settle a matter once and for all. To settle a matter once and for all. Now, when you understand this, then you get to understand that some of the things that you thought were resolutions were not actually resolutions. They were wishes. You had some wishes. If it is possible to not do it, it is not a resolution. Right? In other words, a way for you to think about a resolution is for you to think about an airplane that is taking off, that gains so much momentum and speed on the runway that the moment it takes off, the pilot cannot change his mind and say, let me just reverse. The pilot can't change his mind and say, let me reverse. The moment that it is wheels up, we've committed. We're not going back. We're not changing our minds. We're going somewhere. We are going somewhere. And I want you to get that about resolutions, because if you don't understand that, you keep on coming up with all these things that you call resolutions, but they are really just wishes. It's really just excitement, right? This year, I'm going to get a six-pack, and you don't. It was never a resolution. It was a wish. It was a goal, perhaps, and you missed it, but it was not a resolution. And let me give you one more definition. One more definition. To resolve means to draw an internal line that circumstances are not allowed to move. That's the most important definition. I want you to write that down. To resolve is to draw an internal line that circumstances are not allowed to move. And so you made a decision, you said, this is my line, and it doesn't matter what happens on the outside, circumstances will not move my line. In other words, the same Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the same guys who understood resolve so well, who said, we are not going to eat your food. We're not going to eat your food. We don't care. They knew that they risked dying. But we would die before we change that. And so those same guys, they are the same guys that find themselves at the fiery furnace, where their line in terms of their worship of their God is so clearly drawn that they say, throw us into the fire if you have to. We are not moving our line. Throw us into the furnace if you have to. Do whatever you wish. We're not moving this line. That's that. There is nothing that could happen on the outside that could change my mind on what I've already decided. That is what a resolution looks like. So a resolution means to draw an internal line that circumstances are not allowed to move. In other words, you made a resolution that this is what you do, this is who you are, and it so happens that in the middle of the year you move from where you live to a different city. Doesn't matter. You get into a new relationship. Doesn't matter. Something terrible happens, you lose a loved one. Doesn't matter. It will not move my resolve. Right? So you'll understand this better as we talk about the different types of resolutions that you must make, that every single person must make. And tonight we'll talk about faith, and you'll understand this better. But it is that. Faith is one of those things. It is one of those resolutions that we make where we draw a line, then we say circumstances cannot move this line. Doesn't matter. Circumstances cannot move this. Right? So a resolved person is not negotiating with life. They have already decided. They don't show up and negotiate. They don't negotiate with circumstances. They have already decided what it is that they want. So a resolution is internal finality. Right? I want you to write that down and put that in the comment section. That a resolution is internal finality. Nothing else changes. This was said. This is it. This is it. This is it. So it says about Daniel and his three friends. It says they resolved not to defile themselves with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief official for permission to not defile himself in this way. And then verse 9 goes on to say, Now God had caused the official to show favor and compassion to Daniel. Right? God had caused the official to show favor and compassion to Daniel. So when you talk about favor, you need to understand that favor is attracted to a resolved mind. Not someone who is still negotiating with life. Not someone who is saying, I may not. Could happen, could not happen. Because some of us, we've said that certain things will happen this year, but if history is anything to go by, if your previous patterns are anything to go by, we know that in a couple of days, you will have dropped it. Maybe not in a couple of days, but all it takes is for something bad to happen in your life, for something challenging to happen in your life, for you to forget everything that you said that you will do. So, no wonder the people who get what it is that they want in life, the people to whom the favor is drawn, the favor of God and the favor of people, the reason why they get what it is that they set out to get is because for them there is nothing else. There is nothing else. There is no other way. There is nothing else. And anything less than that is not a resolution. Anything less than that, you can categorize it as something else. You can categorize it as an attempt. You can call it a wish. But if it is anything less than this is who I am and I will not compromise, I would rather die, it's not a resolution. It's not. And that's why it matters what kind of resolution for ourselves. Now see this. I want you to look at a couple of things from this verse 8 that we read in Daniel chapter 1. First of all, Daniel did not resolve after temptation showed up. He didn't make the resolution after temptation showed up. The resolution was made before temptation showed up, and so temptation does not stand a chance. Temptation doesn't stand a chance because the resolution was made long before the temptation showed up. He resolved before he entered the king's service. So before there was any prospect of promotion, before there was any prospect of him gaining favor, his resolution was made. We are not going to be them. We're not them. We don't live like them. We don't do things like them. This is who we are. And then also, I want you to get this, that the decision was made in private before it was tested in public. Right? Listen, the decision was made in private before it was tested in public. And so the principle here for you and I is that if you wait to decide when pressure comes, pressure will decide for you. Pressure will decide for you if you wait to decide when pressure comes. If you do not have the resolve to say, this is who I am, things will happen to you and they will determine who you become. That's what happens. It happens all the time. So certain people are very casual. For example, you may be very casual about your relationship with God. You may be very casual about your faith. It may not necessarily be a resolution as much as it is a matter of convenience. And one day, life shakes you up real bad. And when it does, this is where many people backslide. This is where many people find themselves questioning their faith because there was no resolve. It was a matter of convenience. It was a matter of just trying things out with God, trying things out with Christianity, but it was never a resolution. If all it takes is for life to try you, for you to then start questioning the God that you claim to have faith in, or for you to all of a sudden just abandon your faith, you had never decided. You were just trying things out. You were experimenting with faith, perhaps. Right? So if you wait to decide, if you are casual, I'm telling you now, pressure will decide for you. Pressure will decide for you. So here's what happens. The truth is, most people attempt change in January. Right? They attempt change. But they postpone real resolution. Right? They postpone real resolution. So what you're doing is you're attempting. You look at fasting, for example, prayer and fasting in January. For a lot of people, it's attempting. It's perhaps part of your to-do list for January to just take it off. But it has no real resolution behind it. And so when pressure comes, it just throws you off. When pressure comes, it throws you off. You pray to get an answer to a difficult life decision that you need to make. And your prayer is very casual. It's very casual. Your fasting in order to get the clarity is very casual. You are open to not getting an answer. Right? You're open to not getting an answer. You are open to things not working out. And so most likely, they won't work out. Or you get into your fasting and then someone invites you to lunch at Marble, and you've been wanting to go to Marble because you heard that they were having oxtail on the rocks over there, and you also want to have some snails and you want to have some octopus, and so you say, you know what? Opportunity. I've just been fasting for 3 hours and it's already working. It's already working. I'm going to Marble. And so just like that, your attempt to get an answer, your attempt to get a solution that you were looking for, it just falls away. It falls away. It was never a resolution in the first place. It was never a resolution. Daniel's not saying, he's not saying we'll try to eat vegetables and fruits. He's not saying we'll try to eat vegetables and drink water. He says, no, we're just going to eat vegetables and we're going to drink water. We are not going to cross that line in our faith. And boy, does God honor that. Boy, does God honor a mind that is made up. He's not saying, let's see how it goes. Let me give you another example in Daniel chapter 10. In Daniel chapter 10, where we get our 21 days of fasting. And many of you have the 21 days of fasting coming up, and it's convenient because you ate the grocery money, and you can not starve alone. You can go hungry as a community, so it kind of works out. It's kind of convenient in that. But Daniel chapter 10, and go over to verse 12. Verse 12. Daniel has been fasting for 21 days. He's been praying and fasting, and the purpose for that is because he needs an answer. He needs God to answer him on a pressing matter. And then verse 12 says, at this point, to give you some context, at this point, an angel showed up on the 21st day of his prayer and fasting. So on the 21st day, an angel shows up, and then verse 12 says, then he continued, do not be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before God, your words were heard. And I have come in response to them. Since the first day. But that's not actually our focus here. The focus here is what the angel says. The angel says, since the first day that you set your mind, which is, of course, it makes you think of what we often call mindset. Because what we call a mindset is really just an internal resolution, right? It is an internal resolution that creates a new governing system for your thought patterns and your actions and your words and everything else in your life. It is a governing system. So the angel says to Daniel, since the first day that you set your mind. The angel doesn't say to him, since the first day that you started praying, since you started asking. No. Since the first day that you set your mind. In other words, Daniel, I want you to get this, was not going to stop fasting until he got an answer. But God would not let him die while fasting. I'm going to repeat that again. Daniel would not stop fasting until he got an answer. And God would not let him die while he was fasting. And so it was inevitable that his prayer would be answered. It is the same resolution that you see in Jacob as an example. Back in Genesis, when he says, I will not let you go until you bless me. You'd rather kill me then. Kill me if you have to, but I will not let you go until you bless me. No way. So I hope that as you're hearing this, what's happening is that you are getting a clear idea of what a resolution really looks like, what a resolution is supposed to be, what it is not. And for some of us, we are understanding why it is that we have always made resolutions that disappeared with the wind. We have always made resolutions that lasted as long as the first week of January, right? Resolution comes before strategy. Resolution is the very spirit behind whatever it is that you need to do. Because if you have a strategy but you do not have resolve, you don't have a resolution, what's going to happen is that your strategy will fall apart. It will fall apart. Listen, you will encounter challenges. You will encounter challenges that push against your strategy, that interrupt your plans. Resolutions fall apart. I mean, rather, your strategy falls apart because there was no solution that was backing it, right? So it was his resolution that released an answer. It was resolution that released an answer. A great way to think about this, I've shared the story, and some of you who've been here with me for a long time, you would know this, but there is a particular boy that I still remember from back when I was 19 years old. in that year, I used to go to this orphanage. Some people are saying network. Is the network okay? Is it just them? Just tell them it's them. Please tell them it's them. Please tell them it's their network. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so a couple of years ago, back when I was 19 years old and I was getting into ministry, I had this mentor, and at the time I was volunteering in church every single day, right? I was part of this volunteer program at church where I was there all the time learning everything. I had to learn everything. And then what happened was, there were Mondays we would have off because church staff would get off on a Monday because obviously the weekend they are serving and all of that, and then they would get off on a Monday and come back to the office again on Tuesday. And so I had my Mondays open, and the mentor that I had at the time said, listen, you don't really need off time. And she said to me, what I want you to do is every Monday I want you to go to the church. There was an orphanage that the church supported. Go there, spend time with the kids. I think it will do something to your heart and it will shape your ministry if you go to the heart of our gospel, which is to serve orphans and widows. So start with the orphans. Go there and spend time with them. That's why to this day, on Christmas, we send some support to an orphanage that we chose last year, and we do our best to support it because that is the heart of our faith, right? To take care of orphans and widows. And now I used to go there all the time, and there was this little boy that I met there, and his name was Boy, right? A little boy whose name was Boy. I got to hear their story sometime later. Him and his sister, I got to hear that their parents were pretty much as awful a human being as you can think of, right? Selling their child to older men. But the thing that struck me, that I still remember to this day, every time we would be on the playground, because Boy had grown fond of me, and he loved my attention. He loved when I would play with him, when I would spend time with him, when he would just have all of my attention, because he kind of became my favorite at the time. And whenever he would see me spend time with the other kids, because he was very small, I think he must have been around 4 years old, 5 years old. Whenever he would see me go to spend time with other kids, if he saw that I was playing with someone else for a little too long and he wanted my attention as well, because I had to say to him, Boy, listen, wait, I'm playing with him. I'll come to you just now. What he would do is he would go up on the jungle gym, and the jungle gym was quite high, and then he would go on the monkey bars. If you know what those are, it's that horizontal ladder where they just grab and go to the other side from bar to bar. He would go there, grab onto the first bar on the monkey bars, and he would hang over there. But the problem was his arms were too short to get to the next bar. So he wasn't allowed to do that because he would end up hurting himself. And so Boy, whenever he wanted my attention, he knew that I would not allow him to just hang on those monkey bars. He knew that every single time, if he just steps out and grabs onto that monkey bar, I will come running and he will not fall. And that's what he would do, right? Anytime he wanted my attention, he just went up on those little stairs, reached for the bar, grabbed the bar, and then he just started screaming my name. And I came running every single time just to say, Boy, don't do that again. But he knew that I would come. He knew that I would show up. Here's the thing. The thing is, the only reason why I would always show up The only reason I would always show up whenever he was hanging on those bars was because of one thing. He had no way out. He had no way out. There was no way. There was no way he could go back. There was no way he could go forward. If he let himself go, I was afraid that he could land the wrong way, perhaps land on his head, whatever. But there was no way out. The only solution was for me to show up for him. Listen, the point I'm trying to make about this is you've got to imagine a similar picture when Daniel puts himself out there to say, I need an answer for this. I need an answer. God as a father will not let him die, will not actually watch him starve himself to his death. But after 21 days, when he was so weak that he could barely stand, an angel of the Lord shows up, touches him, says, Daniel, since the first day that you set your mind, the prayer was not an experiment. The prayer was not just to see whether something will happen. And you know what the problem is? The problem is for many of us, we have become content with the kind of faith walk where there are too many unexplained, unanswered prayers. Where there are too many unanswered prayers that we do not have an explanation for. We don't understand why they are not answered. So what we do is we settle for odds. Right? We settle for odds. You know, normally if I pray 10 prayers, 2 of them will be answered. That's good enough for me. Normally if I pray for a year, different things, in a year, at least 1 prayer must be answered. And that's good enough for me. And that kind of faith has a very short lifespan. I'm telling you now, it has a very short lifespan because it lacks resolve, right? It lacks resolve. From the first day that you set your heart. So as you get onto this new year, and perhaps you are still on the phase where you are trying to determine what you want and how you are going to get there, I want you to write this down. This is why most resolutions fail. The reason why most resolutions fail. I'm going to give you 4 reasons. Number one, they fail because they are emotional. They are not settled. They are emotional, not settled. For those of you who have children, I'm sure you know this, that there are times when you have to speak a word and there is nothing else that can change it. And your child can be adorable, your child can be the nicest kid in the world, but because you have spoken and you have said that this is how things are going to be, even when they beg, even when your heart says, come on, look at them. Sorry, buddy. I've decided. It's settled. Even when they try to fight, even when they try to push back, it is settled. And for many of us, our resolutions are just emotional. They're not settled. Right? To the point where even when you have health issues and you say, this year I'm going to work on my weight. The reason why it happens is because, you were in a taxi and the person next to you looked at you with disgust and it broke your heart, and you went home and you said, you know what, I've got to try to do something different. And after the emotion passed, so did the decision. After the emotion passed, so did the desire to do things differently, and you have to wait until the next time that someone hurts you, someone offends you. Most resolutions fail because they are emotional, not settled. Secondly, most resolutions fail because they are reactive, not intentional. Most resolutions fail because they are reactive, not intentional. And so what happens is you have to end up in some serious financial problems before you start doing things differently. For you to be productive, to create a business that will serve someone so that they can pay you, to bring some value to the marketplace, circumstances have to push you. And you know what happens? Oftentimes, you will go, maybe sometimes you will go on and you will start the business and you will sell something and you will make a little bit of money. But as soon as you get a little bit of money, the pain eases and you go right back to where you used to be until the financial situations push you again. And there you are. I'm locked in. I'm new year, new me. And then things get better, and then you ease up a little bit, you let that go, you go back to how you used to be, and the cycle continues. It was never a resolution, it was a reaction. That's what it was. It was a reaction. And I'm not saying that situations cannot push you to the point of a resolution. I am saying that you have to be able to still determine whether this is a resolution or it's just a reaction. Listen, I understand, yes, you might be in a terrible place right now and it causes you to want to do things differently. But when you do things different, when you start, you need to determine whether this is a resolution that you have made for yourself moving forward, or whether this is just a reaction to a situation that's happening right now. And as soon as the situation passes, things go back to how they were. Right? Number 3, most resolutions fail because they are announced publicly before being decided privately. Most resolutions fail because they are announced publicly before being decided privately. And so you did not have that time with yourself to decide that, hey, I'm in. Come what may, I am in. You announce something that sounds good to other people. You announce something that is impressive. It makes you sound like you are serious about life. It makes you sound like you have a good future ahead of you. And so it sounded good and you rushed to just put it out there, but you had not yet made the internal decision by yourself in private. You had not yet made that resolution. Here's the problem. The reason why we say this is because when you announce something publicly, before you have that resolution, if you announce it publicly, what happens when I ask you and say, how are you going to do that? And you don't have an answer for me. And I can easily convince you that what you are saying is impossible. I can easily convince you that what you are trying to do cannot be done. I can easily convince you. Because it's still weak. It is not rooted in personal conviction. It is not an internal decision. So that's really the main reason why we always say, first go and do it and then announce it afterwards. The reason why we say don't announce it first is because what happens when you announce and then people say, oh, but how do you think you're gonna do it when so many businesses fail? You are not the first one to try. We will shake you up. We'll shake you up. You're not, and sometimes because we mean well. Sometimes because we just want to protect you. We don't want you to waste your money. We don't want you to hurt yourself. But when the announcement comes after a resolution has been made, there is no community that can stop a man. There is nothing. There is nothing out there that can stand in the way of a man or a woman who has made that resolution. And then the fourth reason why most resolutions fail. They fail because they are based on motivation instead of conviction. They fail because they are based on motivation instead of conviction. You have not settled it in your heart. It was because you heard me speak, and when you heard me speak, you were like, yes, you know what, yes. This year is my year. But you went off. And what happened? You went off, and what happened? Right? Conviction remains. There's nothing that can take it away from you. Right? There is nothing that can take it away from you. So let me be completely clear with you. I want to level with you. We want to unfilter this whole thing as we draw to a close. You need to understand that resolve is costly. Resolutions are costly. They will cost you, my friend, and not in a small way. Not in a small way. Sometimes resolutions can cost people their lives because they were determined that this is the way or death. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego say, hey, we will serve our God. We will not bow down before your God. The resolution of their faith could have led to death. It was to the point where they stare death in the face and they say, we're not changing our mind. And at the very least, some of the things that resolution will cost you is, number one, comfort. Resolution will cost you comfort. It will get uncomfortable when you resolve to do things differently, to become a different person to the person you've always been. You can't want to become someone who is completely different from who you've always been and continue to be comfortable. You will not be comfortable. Let me put it to you this way. If the person that you are right now, your personality, your mindset, all of that, there are certain people that you are uncomfortable around because you are not like them. There are certain people that you just can't get around because you are way too uncomfortable around them. As soon as you get around them, you are counting down to when you get out of there because you know that this is not who you are. So in the same way, if you yourself are going to become a different person, there will be so much discomfort that comes with that, and it is the kind of discomfort that you cannot even run away from. You can't even run away from it because you know that you have to stay there. You have to stay there because this is the person that you want to become. This is the person that you said that you would become. But this person is making life very difficult for the person that you used to be. Do you hear what I'm saying? This person that you want to become right now is making life difficult for the person that you used to be. So you used to be a certain type of person and you carry this person into this new life that you are going for, and it gets uncomfortable until the old person is completely dead and gone. Until the old mindsets, the old patterns, the old habits are completely gone. Right? So resolutions will cost you comfort. Resolutions will cost you familiar patterns. It will cost you familiar patterns. Ask anybody who is trying to do things differently when it comes to their financial well-being. They realize that, hey, I'm trying to do things differently financially, but they are old patterns that always led them to the same outcome, and they don't want the same outcome anymore. So that means the old patterns have to go. The old patterns have to go. You might resolve that you are going to start a family. Right? You might resolve that you are going to start a family, you are going to get married, raise children, and you say you make one of those chants, divorce ends with me. There will not be divorce from here on out. And guess what? Your mother who is divorced used to respond to your father a certain way, and now here you are in marriage. And the moment this man says something, you are tempted to respond the way that you heard your mother respond. And it's normal, it's instinctive. But man, it is a fight against myself every single day. You grew up seeing your father treat your mother a certain way, and you determined that that's not the marriage you want. And now here you are in your own, you've determined that things should be different. And guess what? Responses are different every single time. You have to fight against yourself. You have to push against yourself. Against those familiar patterns. Right? The way I do things. This is the way we've always done it. And boy, it's hard. Resolution will cost you, thirdly, resolution will cost you social approval oftentimes. Resolution will often cost you social approval. We won't always get it. We won't always agree with you. We won't always be in support of you. Even those of us who love you and all of that. Resolution will cost you social approval. 4, resolution will cost you ease. Resolution will cost you ease. Are you willing to take and endure a difficult life for a season? Are you willing to make hard decisions? To do what is difficult for however long it takes? Are you willing? Because listen, if you are used to ease, if you are used to choosing a certain way of life where everything is easy, if you are still, listen, wildest thing you'll ever hear, you'll hear someone who is in poverty currently, current location, poverty, and they tell you that they want a soft life. They tell you they want a soft life. And they don't know the people that they're looking at who have what they call a soft life had to pay certain prices, and they had to do things the difficult way to get to that point. And if it's not them, then someone else paid the price, but the point is someone paid the price. And here you are, deep within poverty and desperation. And you want to do things the easy way. You want easy. You believe that you deserve softness, you deserve resolution will cost you excuses. Resolution will cost you excuses. It'll cost you excuses, right? So, and I know that we went over time, but I will finish off with this. The sobering truth for someone listening here tonight who wants to see a different life, the sobering truth is that it's very possible that you don't need more prayers. It's very possible that you don't need another journal, because you believe that if you get a fresh journal, it'll motivate you to be more consistent. I'll even say that chances are you don't even need a vision board. Chances are you don't need another idea. What you need is decisions that cannot be undone. That's what you need. You need decisions that cannot be undone. Remember I told you about the flight that takes off? It has made its way down that runway. As soon as wheels are up, there's no going back. The pilot cannot change his mind, my friend. The pilot cannot go back. It's decided. It is decided. You need decisions that cannot be undone. This New Year thing that you want, it'll only respond to resolutions, actual resolutions. Not what you've called resolutions that was not resolutions, actual resolutions. And you need to find a way to do that, right? And by the way, don't let me discourage your new journal. Get your journal. Get your journal. Get your vision board, journal, all of that. Do what you need to do. But understand that if you have all of that, but what you don't have is decisions that cannot be undone, you will not get it right. And over the next couple of days with this series, we're gonna help this community be able to do that, right? Be able to do that, and then with the group that's gonna be with me in the challenge, the 14-day challenge that we have from next week, we're gonna give you even more to help you over there, and we're gonna do this practically. Help you make those decisions that you can't go back on, right? So if you're not in that challenge, get in the challenge. If you don't want to do it with us in the challenge, find a way to do it, but do it. Find a way to do it, but do it, my friend. Do it. Put yourself in a position where you make real resolutions this year. Right? So I want to give you these questions as we finish off. I want to give you these questions that I want you to go and write down for yourself and think on them. Number one, where have I been hoping instead of resolving? Where have I been hoping instead of resolving? And then the second question I want you to write down for yourself: what decisions have I postponed that God is expecting me to make? What decisions have I postponed? And you know you need to make this decision, but you're afraid of making the decision for the very simple fact that once you make the decision, you can't unmake the decision. You cannot go back on it. But the fact that you cannot go back on it is the reason why you need to make the decision. But you put it off because you know that once you make it, you can't go back. And then last question, we're going to finish here. Last question. What have I been asking God to change that He is waiting for me to decide on? What have I been asking God to change that He is waiting on me to decide on? And we know what it is. There are many different areas of our lives where we just ask God to do this, ask God to do that, change this, change that. But we haven't taken the jump. We haven't taken the leap. My friend, that's what a resolution is.